Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Real Estate Disruptors. Today we've got Jack Bosch, aka the Land Guy. Right. And he's here to share how he sold 4,000 plus properties and how he's teaching people to generate lifetime cash flow. If this is your first time tuning in, I am Steve Trang, broker and owner of Stunning Homes Realty, founder of the Offer Fast Homes app, the only app you will need for wholesaling. And I am on a mission to create 100 millionaires. So if you're interested in joining us, please follow me on Instagram. We can connect that way. And if you're excited for today's show, please give me a wave, give me a thumbs up. And as a friendly reminder, I do not charge a dime for this show. I don't make any money doing this. So here's all I ask. This is what it costs for you to listen to this show. If you get value today, please tell a friend. You can share this episode right now, tag a friend below, or tell them your best takeaway later on. That way we can all grow together. And don't forget, this is a live show. So please post your questions, and Jack will be very happy to answer them for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So what got you into real estate?
Well, that's a cool setup, by the way, here.
Thank
you. What got me into real estate? So I'm from Germany originally.
Okay.
And I came over here in 1997 to finish my college degree. And after you work here, after you go to university or college for 1 year, you get a work permit for 1 year.
Oh.
So I wanted to try it. I also met a girl. Long story short, she's now married to me for 17 years. Mm-hmm. So it worked out. And we decided to stay here. She's not from here either. She's from Honduras. So Central America. So we decided to stay here, got a job, got working, did the typical kind of thing, like got a job, got a house, got a car, got a bunch of debt. And 5 years later, or 3 years later, I was like in debt up to here, stressed out. And I was like, that really can't be the trajectory of my life right now. I mean, that was what you've been trained for. It's what the world kind of like prepares you for. And what nobody ever questions, but I was like, this is not what I want. And plus, the only job I could get was in an industry that I wasn't an expert in, just because as a college student in Germany, I had some experience in that industry. So that's why I was able to get in there. They were able to sponsor my visa. They were able to get me the green card ultimately and so on. But I was really unhappy, basically. So What got me started in real estate is just being unhappy and not wanting to deal with that for the rest of my life, and it wasn't software consulting kind of thing. I was like, and I don't know anything about software, so I was like the business analyst. Basically, I was traveling, being at customer sites, being away from my girlfriend and now wife for long times, and at dinners I was sitting with guys that the average person around me was doing this for like anywhere between 12 and 25 years, and I was just like, this is not going to be me. I'm not going to be getting on an airplane or in a car on Monday morning, driving or flying a few hours, being somewhere in some cheap hotel, eating hotel food and working till midnight. This is just not going to be it.
All right. So what year did you make the leap?
We made the leap. We tried figuring this out in 1999.
Okay.
But it took us a full 3 years of back and forth, trial and error, because we had little time, little money, to make this kind of work. Didn't know about seminars or things like that, or about courses, about stuff that could accelerate your path. We just tried stuff weren't successful, and then finally at the end of 2002 we were successful, and then it skyrocketed.
Yeah.
But I could only quit my job at the end of 2003 because it took that long to get the green card.
Oh,
so
I see.
basically, when you don't have a green card, you can't just quit, because then you're basically an illegal alien in the country, because you have 60 days to find another job or leave the country. So I needed to stick with my job, built this part-time, and then transition once I had the green card, let go of the job, and that's how we did it.
Okay, so you did it 2003. What was the first thing what was the first wholesale deal or real estate deal that you did?
That we successfully did, that was a little piece of land in northern Arizona, in a little town called Snowflake, Arizona. And you might know that.
Famous for a movie.
Is it? I didn't know.
Yeah, Fire in the Sky.
Okay, well,
Don't watch it. Don't watch it. It's creepy.
Is it creepy? Yeah, I mean, that town is it's not creepy, but it's actually quaint. But anyway, it was a 1 acre lot, or about something like an acre, half an acre, so I don't remember exactly anymore. But it's a lot with a house next door and a house across the street, And for whatever reason, the seller didn't want it anymore. He was getting to a divorce. He was moving to Colorado. He was just leaving. He wanted to leave like with a clean slate. He didn't want to leave anything behind in Arizona. So it's kind of garage sale mentality, right? He just wanted to get rid of the thing. Wasn't any use to him. Just sucked property taxes out of his pocket, and he gave it to us for $400.
Wow.
Now it's just a piece of land, no house on it, right?
Still $400.
But I figured, I kind of did a little comp analysis, and I saw other properties in the area should be kind of worth like $8,000 to $10,000. So it's like, all right, $400, $8,000 to $10,000. I mean, what can go wrong, really? I mean, in honesty, nothing can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the worst case scenario, somebody pays me $500 for it.
Yeah.
But then literally the guy from across the street came over and right on the spot offered me $4,000 for it, $4,000 on it, and I took that. I didn't even negotiate. I just like, I'll take it. Got a deal. Because I was smiling up till here, and I was like super excited. Because,
no poker face yet.
No poker face. I mean, I had no experience.
All right.
Like no experience with real estate whatsoever. I didn't even know the language of real estate. Like.
So how did you find that particular property?
We did find that through direct mail. So the way we came across that was that we learned about tax liens and tax deeds. So it's, again, a concept that that doesn't exist like that in Europe, where I grew up. It's something very American. You don't pay your taxes, they put a lien against it, and then the lien holder forecloses on it, and you lose the property. Or in California and other states, tax deed states, you don't pay your property taxes, they literally sell the property at an auction. Kind of like blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is that? I mean, this is like amazing. The issue was we tried to be successful in that area, and we failed. So we went to a tax lien auction. We bought some tax liens, and like 3 weeks later, they were paid off by the owner, came to the census, realized, I'm late on taxes, paid the taxes, and we got our money back, and we got something like $3.72 in interest or so. I was like, okay, this is not the way to get out of debt. You either have to buy like $100,000, $200,000, or $1 million worth of these things, and I didn't have $1 million, or it's not how it works. On the tax deed auction, I literally sent my wife out to California to a tax deed auction on like airline miles and hotel points and stuff like that, just like on like really bootstrapping it. And with all the money we had, which was like $3,500, and we identified 3 lots that were listed there for $1,000 each. And well, she goes there and she's in this room full of sharks. Everyone knows what they're doing at these tax deed auctions, and within 5 minutes, these properties were bid up to like 10, 15 grand. So she came home with nothing to show for. But then one day we realized, well, if these people don't want to pay their property taxes anymore, if they don't want their properties anymore, and they stop paying property taxes, doesn't that kind of mean that they kind of like they want to wipe the hands of these properties, just like they don't want to deal with us. They don't want to have them anymore. So why would we want to? We had the idea of like, instead of waiting and going to these auctions, why don't we just send them a letter? So that's what we did. So we basically went after the tax delinquent people, sent them a letter. But the first letter we sent was just didn't respond. We didn't get any responses, sent the wrong letter. But then we tweaked the concept. We got like the first time we ever wrote letters, we got one guy calling us. But he owed more in property taxes than the thing was worth. We're like, okay, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, probably most people would have given up. But to me, that was actually a positive thing, because like, oh my God, somebody answered.
Right.
So I was excited that somebody answered. So I was like, let's do this again, let's tweak it. And finally, when we got the letter right, we got responses. And this was one of the guy that responded. He owed some property taxes, like $300, and we paid him $100. So the total was like $400. He didn't want it anymore. He had paid like a couple of years before, stopped paying property taxes. He just wanted to move to Colorado. And he responded. He accepted our offer, and the rest is history.
So you're known as the land guy.
Right.
Right. And most people are like, hey, Steve, you know anything about land? Like, nope, no interest in it. It's too hard to move. So tell me, why should anybody invest in land?
Well, land is, my opinion, better than houses. And that's for many, many, many reasons. So number one, if you pick the right kind of land, it actually moves very quickly.
Yeah.
Right. Secondly, we just sold 2 weeks ago. We sold the property that we bought for $8,000. We sold it for $47,000. Right? And then the guy
good.
wanted the property next door too. So he's like, okay, take it too. So that's now it's, what is it, $94,000 total? And for properties we paid 16 for, like, I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah.
But the reasons why land is better is that, first, I say jokingly, there's none of what I call the 3 T's. There's no tenants, there's no toilets, there's no termites.
Mm-hmm.
But it really means much more. What it means is that there's no mortgages. There's no, because usually the land we focus on is below $100,000, and most of this land is free and clear, because banks don't lend on land usually, on that kind of land, on that price point land. So the owners have owned it usually decades, free and clear, so you're not dealing with a mortgage. Then there's no foundation issues. There's no plumbing repairs. There's no mold. There's no inspectors. There's no appraisers. There's no roof damages. There's no foundation repairs. There's none of these things that you typically have to deal with houses. Now, I'm not saying houses are bad, right?
Right.
You're in the house world. I wouldn't come here and say that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I own over 40 rental houses myself.
Okay.
I own 3 apartment complexes, adding up to 340 doors.
Wow. Okay.
So I own improved property. I own commercial properties. I own a car repair facility. I own all kinds of stuff that all pays cash flow. But my first love is the land, because in land you literally can, because it's land, you don't even have to go see it. Because it's been enhanced for a lot of time, and the people who own it, they have to pay property taxes. Some of them don't want to pay that anymore, or they're sick and tired of it. Now, earlier I said that we went after tax delinquent ones. We also realized that over time that 80% of our deals come from people who are diligently paying their property taxes. So it's not a tax delinquent technique that we're using. That's just how we got into it. But now, 80-90% of our deals are free and clear.
So how do you target those?
And so how we target those, we go get lists from a list service or from the county. I like to personally go to the county. But when people get started, a lot of our students, when they get started, they go to a list service first. And then they go get a smaller list in the county. And what we do is we get, like, let's say a list of 1,000 records. And then we have some criteria that we filter it by. Like, for example, if you're in the outskirts of town, we focus on kind of 3 kinds of land. The infill lots in the city, that we sell to builders. Lots in the outskirts of town, just like in a few miles right where the city ends. And a third one, larger acreage, more recreational land in the rural areas. But if you go in the outskirts of town, usually there's properties, they're anywhere like from 1 to 10 acres in size, right? So if you're 3-4 miles out there, you probably don't want to buy a quarter acre. You want to buy an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres. Yeah. Because those are only worth, like, let's say $20,000 an acre, versus 5 miles over in the city, it's worth $300,000 an acre. So you can so these are very attractive to to financial investors that just want to buy something and wait for the city to approach because they're in the path of growth, and so on. So we go get lists, we filter them down by kind of how long they've owned it, what the size of the property is, what the value is, and so on. And then we send them that piece of direct mail that worked, and that we since then, over the last 4,000 deals, we have tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it and then split tested and made it better and better and better.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. So I did my research before you came on, and you got some haters out there. You got people like, oh, he's just another guru trying to sell the course. Sure. So what would you say to those guys?
Right. I say to them, if that's what they think, they don't have to go into land. But I would want to say at the same time that probably our success rate is about a minimum of 10 times higher than any of the house guys out there right now. So we just had an event 2 weeks ago where we had 180 people there. So I teach this, obviously, because that's what I said, guru. Yeah. We have been teaching this for 10 years. And just like you have I had to actually smile when you said you have a goal of 100 millionaires. We actually have a goal of 1,000 millionaires that we put out there. Oh, okay. And have been putting out for a while. And we actually met the 100 already. Oh, yeah? So we have well over 100 millionaires already that they're out there. So the bottom line is we have a Facebook group. If you want, I can share the name later on, where there is a bunch of our students, the majority of our students are in that Facebook group. And there's not a single day almost that passes without somebody posting their very first deal or their second deal or a brand new deal. And it's literally hundreds of people posting deals all the time. So what I can say to that, I don't want to say I'm a guru, but yes, I'm in that world where I'm teaching thing. But first of all, what gurus often do is they teach you half of what you need to know in a course, and then a quarter more in the live event, and you need to do coaching in order to learn it all. I don't believe in that. So we have a course that teaches everything, and the proof of it is that in our Facebook group, there's literally people posting stuff almost every day. There's a new success story. I mean, the success rates are off the charts of our students, and I think that sets us apart. I mean, our stuff works like nothing else. Just because that's another reason why land, in my opinion, is better than houses. Is how many land guys do you know?
You.
There we go. How many house guys do you know?
And Mark.
All right. Yes, that's right. But how many house guys do you know?
A lot.
Exactly. So I would literally say that for every 100 to 500 house guys, there's one land guy.
Yeah.
So what that means is that there's really barely any competition in the land area. Now, do you come across other people? Yes. But it's not like somebody might receive a letter once a year from somebody. Here in the house world, they receive 100 letters every week.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like it's a completely different world. So plus you can get into the pieces of land at 5 to 25 cents on the dollar. So you can buy a $20,000 piece of land for $3,000 and go sell it for 15 again.
So that's a very interesting point, right? Because people ask me, and again, I'm not the land guy.
Right.
So it's like, oh, what should I offer this guy? I was like, I don't know. I think you get it at 10 cents on the dollar. You could probably sell it for 30 cents on the dollar pretty quick.
Exactly.
So what is the rule of thumb on what you offer and what you sell it for?
So a rule of thumb is a sliding scale. That if a property's worth, let's say, the bottom end that we deal with, I don't like to deal with less than $10,000. Properties are worth less than $10,000. But a lot of our students go a little lower because their comfort level is there. And back when probably of these 4,000 deals that we've done, 2,000 of them are like below $10,000. But now, where I'm now in my life, I like to deal with the bigger deals because it's the same work and it's more profit. But a lot of people, when they get started, their comfort level is not there, so they start with a lower price. So let's say if you have a $5,000 property, you cannot afford to offer 25 cents on that thing, right? 25% of market value, because that would be what? That would be $1,250.
Yeah.
Plus closing costs, you're $2,000. If you want to sell that property at a discount for a quick sale, you sell it for $2,500. You don't make any money. So if you buy a $5,000 property, you gotta buy it for like $200. So my thing is, when you go start in that level,
$200.
$200. Yeah. One time we bought 110 properties for $10,000. So the average, therefore, is about $92 or so per property.
Wow.
Right. So, and at the live event, again, there were people that had bought properties for $60, for $58, for $100, and so on. Yeah. And it happens quite a bit, actually. So you have to offer like $200 because with closing costs, now you're at $1,000, and now you're selling at $25. You're making $1,500, and hey, you do 5 of those in a month, you can live off that, right?
Yeah.
And those properties are there like sand on the beach, right? There are like lots of them.
So you can do those all day.
You can do those all day long, right?
Okay.
But you got to go in very low. Now, in a $100,000 property, you're not going to get that thing for $200. I mean, it's an illusion, right? Anyone that tells you is lying.
Yeah.
You don't even get the $100,000 property for $5,000, right? You can't offer 2 or 5% of market value. You got to go higher in the percentage of what you offer. So on a $100,000 property, you got to offer 25, 30, 35% of market value. So the sliding scale is like the lower the property value, the lower the percentage you offer. So on a $10,000 property, you can offer like $1,500, right? On a $20,000 property, you can offer like $4,000. On a $30,000 property, you can offer like $10,000, right? Because now you're starting to get to that 25. We like to say between 5 and 25%. But once you get over that $50,000 to $75,000 level, even if you got a little bit above the 25%, it's still fine. Because if I buy a $50,000 property for $15,000 and I sell it for $30,000, I'm still making good money.
Right.
Right. So
how long are you holding on to those properties?
As little as possible.
So
this is another thing. We ideally like we do classic wholesaling, really. We actually sell our properties 2 ways. Classic wholesaling, meaning double closings, like simultaneous closings or assignments, or if we can, and we like to do that. My wife and I like to do this a lot. Seller financing, and seller financing actually makes land cash flow. It's another thing, and it makes land cash flow without having that kind of dilemma that you have in the housing world often. Let's say you have a $300,000 house with a $250,000 mortgage that costs you, what does that cost? $1,500 a month, and you're renting this thing for $2,000 a month. Great, you're making $500 a month in net cash flow. The moment that tenant does a midnight move out or so, you're negative $1,500 on that thing, right? Because you still have to pay the mortgage. Well, in our case, you take a $30,000 property that you buy for $4,000. If you can sell that thing with a $6,000 down payment, like 20% down, and a $500 a month payment, you have the same cash flow. Actually lower, because you don't have to pay for insurance. Like insurance, if you have it, is much cheaper, and so on. It's pure $500 in cash flow, and if that guy stops paying, it goes from 500 to 0, but never negative. Right?
How do you cash flow? I mean, how are you making money on the land as for cash flow?
All right. How we're making money on the land on cash flow is very simply by buying them at 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. When we sell it with seller financing, so installment sale, we often get...
So you're borrowing at a lower cost and selling to someone else at higher payments.
Well, we're actually not even borrowing.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, let's say the ideal scenario is the following. We've just done that like last year several times. There's a property in California that we bought for $3,100 and $3,175. Plus closing costs, let's call it $4,000. So we bought this property for $4,000. So we put it under contract, right, with a 4-month closing. Because in our world, you don't have to close in 7 days because there's no competition, right? Nobody they're not going to get a letter from somebody else the next day. They're signing happily on a 4-month closing or even 6 months closing. It's no problem. So now I have 4 months to find a buyer. Now, if it's a nice property, it's not going to take 4 months. It's going to take 2 weeks. So 2 weeks later, I find a buyer that's willing to buy this property. Let's say was worth $35,000. So we discounted a little bit, and we sold it to the guy for $31,000. And he gave us a $5,500 down payment. Right. So now, if he gives us a $5,500 down payment, it's or $5,000 plus a $500 fee. He assumes a loan of $26,000. But if you look at it, what did we get in versus what do we have to get out? We have to, if we do this at the closing table with a title company, we can either give the title company $4,000 and then we get $6,000 back that same day, or we can use the double closing process where the buyer $5,500, not $6,000, $5,500 are being used to close on the deal, make the entire transaction happen. So the seller gets $3,100, the title company gets $1,000, we get $5,500. We get $1,500. Yeah, $1,500 net. So now we've done a deal where we didn't have to borrow any money just because we got it so much below market value. We're selling it to him for $31,000 with a $26,000 loan, and we had no money out of pocket.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the cash flow is you selling it to him.
Yes.
And he's making payments to you.
Yes. We become the bank, exactly.
Exactly. Okay.
That's how it works, yes.
Okay.
Now, and in a case where it's not so ideal, like that deal where we bought for $8,000 and sold for $47,000 right now, that property we had bought we bought it for $8,000, but that was a seller financing deal. We only got $2,000 down. So now I'm negative $6,000. Now, I have the cash to be able to say, okay, here's $8,000, I buy it, and then when I sell it, I get $2,000, and now I get $600 a month. Or $595. So almost $600 a month. So basically in a year and a half or a year and 4 months, I have all my money back. So I have 100% return on my investment, in a matter of 15 months, and which is better than putting the money in the bank.
Yeah.
And then for the next 10 years, I'm getting about $7,200 a year just cash flow, just pure cash flow, pure profit because my money's back.
So how often in land deals, being that you're doing a sell or carry, are you having to take it back?
That is also a function of how much you actually ask as a down payment. Now, you can, of course, check their credit and those kind of things. We actually don't. We just plainly derive it at the number of the down payment they're willing to do. And we found that these deals that like our typical seller financing deal is in that like $15,000 to $30,000 kind of range usually, in terms of 15 to 50 kind of $1,000 range. And as long as you get them to do like, at the very bare minimum, $1,000 down payment, but ideally a little bit more. Like if it goes into like the 10%, which at the 15 is $1,500, at obviously at 50 it's like $5,000, they're not walking away. The default rates is literally only in about the 5% rate, which is kind of comparable to actually a regular bank loan out there.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not a high foreclosure rate, but the only reality is like if they pay you for a year, $600 a month, you've gotten a down payment, you got another all this money. If you foreclose on that deal, is financially speaking is the best thing that could happen.
Right.
Because now you get to keep all the money. Foreclosure might cost a little time and money to do, but then you go sell it again. If the market has gone up since then, you sell it for more than you sold it the first time.
Right.
Get another down payment, get now monthly payments. But that's not our game. We like our people to be happy. So if somebody stops paying, the first thing we do is reach out and we see what can we do. Is you have a hardship? Do you need a lower payment? Can we do a loan modification? Like all these things that the banks would do in 2009, 10, 11, we can do because we're the bank.
Right.
And you can do it because you're the bank. Yeah.
What is the biggest land amount that you've done?
The biggest deal is one that we actually have on our contract right now. We bought this property for $92,000. We just put it on a contract for $220,000.
Wow. So how did you find it? How did you move it?
Well, that actually is an infill lot. So that actually... Funny enough, that one came through the newspaper. I just happened to look through the newspaper, and since my eyes is always like sharpened to look for deals, it's like land in that area, seller willing, like motivated. So I called them, and I figured out it was worth like $300, and the guy's like, we negotiated $92. So that is an exceptional deal, though. But we have also gotten kind of like from a margin point of view, the best deal is a property in Prescott, Arizona. Like beautiful property at the end of a road overlooking the entire kind of area there and with views all the way to Flagstaff, if you know where that is. I mean, you know what it is, but I don't know if the audience knows what it is. And I bought this thing for $1,875 and we sold it for $81,000.
Wow.
That was a nice deal.
Sounds like it. So I don't want to go through obviously your entire course, but what would be some actionable 2 or 3 things that someone that's listening to the show could start with if they want to take some action today? Right.
So the best thing they could do is they could start thinking about land a different way. And this is that's not an actionable step, but it's something that most people think about land just like you have, which is like land. What is anyone going to do with it? No, the truth is, a lot of people want land. Like if you look at it, the path of growth land, the infill land is easy, right? Because the builders buy it.
Someone bought it.
Someone buy it. So the land on the outskirts of town is the path of growth. So there's a lot of people who are getting nervous about the stock market, pulling money out of the stock market, and want to put it somewhere else. So if you see that a city like Atlanta, a city like Denver, a city like Miami, a city like Phoenix, they're constantly growing, right? If you see a city like that, and you can get a lot 3 miles outside of the city borders, kind of, or where the city ends, where the development ends, and you can get this thing today for $30,000, like as a buyer, they're jumping on that because if you, in our marketing, we describe it, we tell them the city grows by 50,000 people a year. So it's only a matter of time until that is engulfed by a town, and then it's worth 10 times as much. So if you present it like that, make people understand that, boom, they buy these properties like crazy. So instead of driving through the city and through the rural areas and thinking, what is all this dirt? There's people that the third group, the recreational people, they love. I mean, there's dirt biking, right? In the Western United States, there's a lot of desert. People love taking their RVs out there and just or in the ATV and just starting dirt biking, quadding, all this kind of stuff, shooting out there. And there's when I go in a room and I ask them who would like to have a ranch here, about half of the hands go up.
Really?
So half of the population of the United States, and I've done it like 100 times. Half of the population in the United States apparently wouldn't mind having some kind of a place to get away for the weekend. So the thing is that desert out there, that land out there is actually attractive to a lot of people. And the problem is they can't afford it. So therefore, that seller financing or a lot of people can afford it, but that seller financing option where you become the bank is a great way that you can make land affordable, and you get cash flow for yourself without any tenants, toilets, and termites.
All right.
But in terms of action steps, I mean, just go on Craigslist and go on their land and just see what people are offering there. I mean, there's literally some people. I mean, I don't think it's a scalable business to do this on Craigslist only, but there's nothing wrong to go on Craigslist and go see what people are selling there. And you find a bunch of professional sellers, a few people that have really nice listings. They're probably my students. But you can also find the mom and pop that just like sitting on a piece of land. They don't know what to do with it. It's like, we sold our bicycle in the garage on Craigslist. Why don't we put a piece of land on Craigslist? So you can get deals just off Craigslist, right? So get the deal. Just make sure it's not junk.
Yeah.
Because there is junk land in the country. So make sure, like, we do not deal with junk.
So what's junk land?
Well, junk land is like the quarter acre, 3 hours from the next city, that is worth $500. Like, no, why would I want to touch this thing? Like, if you're in the rural areas, people want 10 acres, 20 acres, 40 acres. They don't want a quarter acre.
Yeah.
So we don't touch that. True junk land is like the swamp land, right? True junk land is land that is like in a ditch, basically, right? Like in mountainous areas, land that is like you need mountain equipment to actually climb up, then that's unbuildable, right? That's junk land, and that exists. And sometimes even in subdivisions, there's all nice lots, and then one is like in a dry wash. Stay away from those. So we don't deal with junk. So and also, I mean, there's a couple of areas, a few areas in the country where there's literally like 10,000 empty lots. Nobody's building. There's no water. There's no electricity. And even though they're an acre or two in size, they're only worth $2,000. So no, stay away from those. Those are not the ones. Those are the ones that people that don't get my course, that don't listen to me, they end up buying those, and then they blame me for it. But in the very first 3 modules of our course, I go in detail about how to find the areas and how to find the kind of properties that will sell very quickly, because that's the key piece, of course.
So I was also reading up the Forever Cash philosophy. What is the Forever Cash philosophy?
So the Forever Cash philosophy. The Forever Cash philosophy is a philosophy that has brought my wife and I to be financially very, very comfortable, and has really and to financial freedom, basically. And because there's a difference between making money and generating wealth, and most people are not even aware that there's such a difference. So it's like the doctor that owns or the specialized physician that makes $1 million but spends 1.2. He has mastered the science of making money. He has not mastered the science of creating wealth. So what we even wrote a book about it called Forever Cash. So what we learned is, like, we went into this land business, we flipped. We very quickly got out of that. We went from $0 to $1 million in 18 months. So very quickly out of that, paid off student debt, paid off house debt, paid off car debt, paid off all this kind of stuff, paid off our house in like 2 years, and then we built up the seller financing, and then we built it up very high. But then about 7 years later, we started realizing that all these early loans were starting to be paid off, and we realized that if we ever want to retire, we love this because it gives you stability. Cash flow gives you stability. You can go travel around the world for a year and the cash flow keeps coming in. But if you travel around the world for 10 years, the cash flow is gone. Right? Because it starts coming down if you don't replenish it. So we started realizing that for wealth generation, you need to do more than just create cash flow and more than just create deals. You need to roll the money that you make over into something that will then produce cash flow for life. Like in the stock market, you can do dividend stock, right? Dividend stock with blue chip company dividend stock, it's not a very good cash flow, but at least it's cash flow. So, and it's not appreciation. I know a guy that is worth $50 million doesn't have a dollar in passive cash flow in his life. It's all business cash flow. He owns art, he owns buildings, he owns houses around the world, but his own houses, right? There's nobody paying him rent. He owns houses, he has a multi-million-dollar art collection and things like that, but he has no passive cash flow. So he mastered the income And the wealth in terms of accumulation of things, or what I call the pile of money theory, when that's what financial planners, by the way, teach everyone. That's the pile of money theory. Like build enough pile of money in the stock market so that once you retire, you hopefully don't outlive it. Right? That's the theory out there. My theory is like make money, pay down your debt, invest in yourself, and learn how money works, and then move that money into something that then produces lifetime cash flow.
Yeah.
So lifetime cash flow, forever cash is the same thing. And so what we have done basically, as we've built up this land flipping up to literally tens of thousands of dollars a month in cash flow, we've taken some of that off the table. And when the market crashed in 2009, we came into the market and we just bought rental house after rental house after rental house after rental house with the cash that we had made over there, while continuing to do our land flips. We've done them all along.
Yeah.
And continue to do them. And then now, and for the last few years, we've even also taken some of our money and started buying apartment complexes with it. Because at the end of the day, that's something where we are a little more hands-off. There's a management company on site managing it and so on. But the thing is, you need your cash machine, right? You need something that's your engine that produces cash. But then the goal is not to blow that cash. The goal is to use that cash to build wealth forever. And that philosophy that we describe in the book, we could describe a process called the wealth wheel, where you create income, you put the money off to the side, you only invest in yourself and put money aside, and then you invest in cash flow assets, and those cash flow assets now spit out more cash that you don't go and spend, but instead you put it right back into the account, and then your cash machine, your active income, your land flipping for that thing, produces more cash, and you keep putting it in there, and soon enough you have more and more money to buy more and more of these forever cash, as we call them, assets, these passive cash flow sources, and it becomes like a snowball that starts slower and slower, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and soon enough you have replaced your income with the passive cash flow, and you don't need an income. It's like Kiyosaki, what Robert Kiyosaki talked about. It's just our twist to it and our variation of it. And in essence, it's actually coming from Europe. It's actually the exact philosophy that the European aristocrats have used for thousands of years.
Right.
That's how they think. Like around my hometown in Germany, there's a little count, and there's a castle, and there's a thing, and the count has no more political clout, but he owns all the land, he owns all the rental properties, he lives in his castle, and he owns businesses and things like that. And with the businesses, he buys more real estate, and it's the exact same freaking model that the aristocrats have used forever. Just the average Joe out there, the average person doesn't know that. We're being taught to just go consume, make money, consume, spend.
Don't know that, but don't even really have the opportunity to afford it because it's so freaking expensive in Europe.
True. I mean, true, but the principle is the same.
Principle's still the same.
Yeah, the principle is the same. Like now, there's a movement in Germany that I know of that there's a whole bunch of people I'm connected with now. They're doing that, so they have understood it. They're just doing the same thing now with little apartments. They can't buy they can't afford buying a big apartment complex, and there's not that many over there. It's a little different, but they buy single condos. They buy there's one guy who bought 13 condos this year. Right? Or last year. And so he builds his passive cash flow that way. It's the same thing. He has his income producing business over here, and then the money gets put over into cash flow creating pieces. And he has his goal is number 50. When he has 50 of them, he's financially free.
That's awesome. So how are you today? Right, you got you and your wife, and you guys have other things going on.
Right.
It's not just the land. So who is helping you find the land? How are you guys finding the land? You know, who's meeting with the homeowner, or not the homeowner, landowners? Like, how does that all operation work?
I love the question. Can I answer the last one first?
Sure.
Who is meeting with the landowners? Nobody. And that's the nice part. Nobody. Nobody's meeting with the owners. Nobody's meeting with the buyers. It all happens via direct mail, telephone, and online.
Okay.
That's why I'm working from home. We virtualized our entire office. We don't even have an office. We have a little one of these Regis office spaces. We have a little office suite where we have some files in there, and my assistant goes there to work. But other than that, there's nothing. And we have people all over the country doing work. So how do we do that? So we do things because we have the financial ability. We're blessed with the success of our business to have the financial ability to just buy these lots. The way we do it is that we have buying and selling seasons. So right now we're in a selling season. We're just selling the heck out of properties. Our goal is to sell 180 properties in the next 6 months. And then once those 6 months are over and we sold those 180 properties, or the majority of them, then we're going to turn the ship around and everyone in our team will help us buy properties. So our team basically puts two hats on, but our students usually, they do it more like that they buy and sell in parallel, right? Because most of the students don't sit on larger piles of cash, or they build it up over time. And once they build it up, then they might switch to our model.
Their cycle is a little bit smaller.
Yeah, the cycle is smaller, shorter, exactly.
Yeah.
So we have 1.5 people that are land sales people. So one does a part-time, one full-time. We have a person that helps with the analysis of these properties, because when the deals come in, when we send out letters, here's the process just in a few words. We identify a county that we want to go after, let's say a county just outside of a bigger city. We get a list from the county or from a list service. We filter it down based on some criteria. We send out some letters, and let's say you send out a testing of 500 letters. We typically get about a 4 to 15% response rate on these letters.
Really?
Yes,
wow, that's really
way
good.
higher than in the house side. Another reason why land is better.
Yeah.
We're getting a huge response rate. Typically, we have a call center. We use a call center that we've built a relationship with over time that now lots of our students are using too. And they take the phone calls. We developed a software that we make available for students that the call center can plug the leads right into the software. So we build an integration there, right into the software. So they wake up in the morning, they have 10 more people that called. They need to then do a little bit deal analysis, so analyze what the property is worth and so on, but just ballpark, because we're making 10 cents on a dollar offer. It's okay if to be a little bit off.
Right.
And then we make these offers. And then once we have the offers accepted, we go sell the property. Right? That's it. In a nutshell, that's it. So of course there's some more steps behind the thing, and yes, there's some work involved. So I'm different than all the other gurus. I'm not telling you there's no work, but in our team, we have a mailing house that sends out the letters. So I tell my team which counties we're going to go for. Then we have access to that. We go get the list from a county, and then we have a guy somewhere in the Philippines or so that filters that list and scrubs that list for us in the way we want to. Then we go use the mailing house to send out the letters. Lots of our students use that same mailing house too. They have the nice part is that they have a minimum of only 50 letters.
Wow, that's really low.
Yeah, exactly. Usually they have like 10,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
This is one they're really customized. Of course, if you send 50, it's a little more expensive.
Naturally.
But it's starting at 700, it really drops massively. So we said take like 1,000, 2,000 letters, send them out. The call center takes the calls, drops them into our system. Then we have somebody in our team full-time that goes in and analyzes these deals and puts in all the data pieces of what they think it's worth, like links to the county and thing, and links to the property and comparables and stuff like that. And then I look at it. That's the piece that to this day I do myself. I look at it, and if I'm already familiar with the area, making offers is like very simple, because you know, oh, this is the XYZ subdivision. I know they're worth 20 grand. I know they're getting a $3,000 offer. Done, right? So you go like 3,000, 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Make the offers, move on. And then once that is done, another team member of us goes, prints out, produces the offers, which our software literally, you press a button and the offers come right out. They're automatic mail merge and everything. The offers come out and they mail them out, and then we wait. Because we don't do this on the phone, we don't do this thing, there's no urgency. So if somebody calls, like in the house, I always like to say, in the house world, if somebody calls you today and says like, I want to sell you the house, you probably would almost have to get up and run out of the door here.
Be there in 5 minutes.
And be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We don't talk to our sellers. We only make offers once a week. And because we know that in the meantime, the chance that somebody else is going to make them an offer in that same time is almost zero.
So you're mailing offers. You're not even calling to present offers.
No, I'm calling. We're sending them letters, giving them 10 days to accept the offer, because it takes like 3-4 days to get there. They might have to discuss it with the kids. So it's all a no pressure, low pressure thing. And then they send them back, and usually for one between every 20 to 35 kind of offers that we send out, we get a deal accepted. But again, if you think about it, you send 1,000 letters, you might get 100 phone calls. There should be already 3 to 4 deals in there on average.
Wow.
Right. So So you get those accepted, and then you go, and again, on average, sometimes you might send out 3,000 and you get nothing, and then the next 1,000 there's 10 deals. And sometimes in the first 20 there's a deal. So it's the average. But if your average is over a large number, our typical student gets a deal for every 300 to 500 letters they send out. So 1,000 letters has like two to three deals in there.
So you got it tied up.
You got it tied up, and then you go put it out online. And we use Facebook. Facebook Marketplace right now. It's like crazy.
Really?
Like one of our students right now, we just put a few properties in there. My land salesperson, she's like, oh my God, I'm getting so many inquiries here. So like one guy just 2 days ago, he posted that he bought a property for 4,000, sold it for 25,000. He says in one day he had 150 inquiries from Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
And several people wanting to make offers on the deal. And so that's the thing. I mean, can you buy property that sits on the market for a year? Yes. But again, the first 3 modules of the course that we do tell you how to not do that, how to stay away from those.
Interesting. And the other thing, if he's got 150 people, he knows which subdivision to target again.
Exactly. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to go in and find 10 more properties there, because if a property in that area, can he afford to pay more for these properties now?
Yeah.
Absolutely, because he already get 9 more people that wanted to offer 22 or 23,000, and he bought it for 4. He can make $10,000 offers now and sell them for 22, still make 12 grand a piece.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very fascinating. And then so I know that you're licensed. Do you do anything with your license?
No. I keep my license active because it was too much work to get it. I don't want to lose it. But when I bought my current house, I used my license to save on the commission. Right, so I represented myself. Therefore, I got the 3% commission. Or actually, we took it off the price, so I got the price for 3% less. Right. When because of it, I have access to the MLS. Because of it, I have access to some other tools and things like that. But we don't. What we do, though, and that's an important thing, when we send out our letters, we do write on the bottom of our letters that one of the principals of the company is a licensed real estate agent has a licensed real estate license in the state of Arizona, but we're buying on our own behalf. Because by law, you have to disclose it, the very first contact, and we do that. And nobody ever asked about it. Nobody even cares. Because what we're targeting is not little grandma who we're stealing the property from. What we're targeting is somebody who just doesn't want the property anymore. Their life plans have changed. They inherited it. They don't care about it. And the nice part is that because it's land, it is sucking money out of their pocket.
Right.
And they just don't like that. So they're willing to just give it cheaper than houses just to stop that. At the same time, there's millions of people wanting to buy land, want to have a ranch, want to have a farm, want to have a place to get away, or want to have a place that the city grows into, or want to have an infill lot.
Yeah. So I think I heard you say 180 deals in 6 months. That's the goal. So then you're looking almost a deal a day is your goal per year.
Yes. Now, some of these are groupings of deals where we sell them like 6 or 10 in a piece, because there's some cheaper ones that's like, we just sold like 11 of them. That's one of, sometimes when you buy land, you go after this one property that somebody has is worth 40 grand. And when they call you, they tell you, yeah, I got these other 10 properties over here. Would you take them off my hands too? And you look at them and they're worth like nothing. They're worth like $1,000 each. So he's like, okay, I'll give you another $1,000 for all 10 of them. And they're like, okay, deal. So you get them all. So you sell the $40,000 one for $35,000, or to make like 20 grand on it. And what do you do with those little ones? So the little ones, they included in those. So we have like probably 30, 40 of them are like those cheaper ones. And we'll just put them on eBay for like a $500 closing fee and start the bidding at $1. And if they end up selling at $200 plus a $500 closing fee, we sell them for $700. But they didn't cost us anything. Right. So we just sell them. But the majority is like in this $10,000 to $50,000, $10,000 to $100,000 range. It's, so my goal is 180 in 6 months. It might take us a little longer, but I think we can sell probably 100 at least 100 comfortably in the first 100 days. And again, some of them are packages of 5 or 6. So if you look at it, how many actual sales that we have to do, it really comes only down to probably about 60 to 80 sales.
Only.
Yeah, but I mean, it's if you would have been at our live event last week, there's like people like, what the live event was this 18th to the 20th of January. And in the first week of January, nothing happens. Everyone is still kind of overcoming the hangover from New Year's and so on. But basically in the 2 weeks between then, from the 10 days, from the 7th to the 18th, 11 days, there's people in the room that had sold 4 properties already. Right? And so it's not that hard to sell them. And we have some offers on the table right now from people. So is this a stretch? Yeah, but I also have full-time people on there that are putting properties out there. So the average student probably won't sell 100 in half a year, but one of our coaches is doing 170 deals a year alone with his wife and 1 virtual assistant.
Wow.
So you can do higher volume.
What markets are you in right now?
So I am in quite a few markets, but the markets that I'm most comfortable with and that I go mostly back to is Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, and I would think those are my four markets that I'm personally the most. But only because Arizona, obviously, because back in the days when we started, we actually thought we had to go see the properties. So every weekend after coming back, after traveling for my job, I would come back like Friday afternoon. My wife would pick me up in the airport. We would literally just go drive all the way up to northern Arizona, go look at property or sleep somewhere there, get there at night, sleep in a hotel, get ready next day, all Saturday, all Sunday, look at properties, come back down Sunday night. Monday I would fly back out. And we did that for like weeks and weeks. But because of that, we started in Arizona. And then because of that, we expanded to Southern California because we could still drive there in a 5-hour drive. And then we expanded a little bit to New Mexico because we could drive there too, even though there's a lot of worthless land in New Mexico. But then one thing happened one time. We picked up 21. It was 25, but 4 were lost already to tax sales. So we picked up 21 properties from one seller for like $3,000, all of them. They owed another $10,000 in back taxes. So then we went and paid them the $3,000, and then we sold 2 of them for $10,000. So we had paid the back taxes, and now we own 19 properties free and clear. However, these properties were in Indiana, in Florida, in Texas, in Hawaii, in California, in Colorado, and in some of these places. And just it happened where they were in those counties. Some of them were not worth much. But the properties in Hawaii sold very well. The property in Colorado sold very well. The property in California sold very well. The property in Florida sold very well. And they were right in areas where there's a ton more properties like that.
Yeah.
So we just basically said we sold everything, and those 5 areas in the moment had really good demand. So we went back to those areas, and those became kind of our home areas, and we never really had to go beyond those. Having said that, now not everyone's listening. Please don't go to those same counties, the same states. Having said that, we have students doing exceptionally well right now in many parts of Texas, in many parts of Georgia, in many parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, many parts of Tennessee, in many parts of Washington, Oregon, of basically entire West Coast.
Yeah.
One of our guys, he's doing lots of deals in Arkansas. So it really doesn't matter. There's even guys, and there's one guy does over 100 deals in West Virginia every year, and West Virginia. So there's guys in the Midwest. Even though the Midwest, in tendency, has a lot more farmland. So farmland, usually they don't give you farmland for 10 cents on the dollar. So you got to pick the pockets in those states where there's more like rural land generally, or in the outskirts of town again. And then you can still get good deals. And again, there's people all over the country doing deals. But the nice part is, it doesn't matter where you are. We actually have a growing number of students right now from Germany. I've been interviewed in like 5 podcasts in Germany, and we're getting like probably 5 new students a month coming from Germany, and that's successfully doing it from Germany in the United States without ever having been in the United States. So because you can virtualize it all, right? You can have the mailing house send out the letters. You can have the call center take the phone calls. You can send the letters out, the offers out electronically by email or with the mailing house again. You can have a virtual phone number for any kind of follow-up things that you need to talk to. You need to speak English, right? But other than that, you use a title company and you use online sources like Facebook, like Zillow, like Craigslist to go sell these properties. You can do that from anywhere in the world.
It's basically got a business in a box.
You got a business, you got a virtual business that you can apply from anywhere in the world. I mean, so yes, so it is.
So to do what you're doing, as far as monthly marketing, like what do you have to spend in monthly marketing to do the kind of numbers you've done?
Not very much, because Facebook is free, Craigslist is free, and Zillow is free. So there are some sources that you can use that you pay for. So you can pay for something like landwatch.com. And it's not necessarily cheap. They racked up their prices quite a bit. Yanked up their prices quite a bit. But you can pay for like a couple of $100 a month. You can actually be on the front page of that county. And that's what you want to be, or of that state. Because Landwatch has like 300,000 pieces of land on their website. You're going to get lost in there. And they used to be really cheap. Now you pay a lot. So if you're already paying, pay a little more to be in a prime position on that website. Right? You can do banner advertising. You can do pay-per-click advertising. But don't do much high prices. Like we have some very specific ads running that actually include even the name of the subdivision the property is in. So we're only paying like probably $3 a month for this ad, because nobody clicks on it. But the thing is, if 10 people click on it a month, it's very, very specific advertising. Only somebody is going to even see that ad if they're looking for, let's say, Hidden Valley Estates subdivision. If they're looking for Hidden Valley Estates, Montana or so, or wherever, Colorado, then our ad is going to come up. And they're like, well, this is exactly what I want. They're going to click on it, but now I'm happy to spend that. So it doesn't cost any money. It doesn't cost much money. I mean, I think marketing might cost, if you really go full out, $500 a month, and that's the most.
Wow.
Now, selling marketing, right? Advertising, like the letters cost a little bit, but again, even there, we don't have to send tens of thousands. Like one of our students right now that is actually part of our become part of our mentors. He started out with 100 letters a week that he folded and stuffed on his kitchen table. So he bought the envelopes, he bought the letters, he bought a little printer, and he put the 50-something cent stamp on. So for 60 cents, he sends out $100. So $60 a week, and he was able with that to do like several dozen deals in the first year.
Wow. What about overhead? I mean, running an operation.
So that can add up to a little bit, but not much. Again, depending on volume, you can take your own phone calls. I would say like there's this range. You can go all over here and do everything yourself, and then you have almost no cost. Or you can go over here and outsource it all, and that comes, of course, with a cost. So everyone can really you can choose where you want to be in that kind of spectrum based on two factors, time and money. Right? If you have more time than you have money, go over here, do it yourself. If you have money but you don't want to spend the time, then go over here. So if you fully outsource everything, you might spend, and let's say you spend like a couple thousand letters a month, you end up, when the letters cost you perhaps $1,000 then a month, but then you should also be 300 to 500 letters a deal, right? On average, there should be 4 to 5 deals in it, or let's say 5 deals in this thing. All right, so if you do 5 deals at a minimum profit of minimum $5,000, I mean, you make $25,000 a month, then you're spending $1,000 on letters. You might then spend perhaps $500 on a mailing house, and you might spend our software. You can buy our software has a price. Yeah, you can subscribe to it annually or monthly, so it might cost a little bit. But let's say for under $2,000 a month, you have all your things included. Now, if you do everything yourself and you only send 100 letters a week, you have $200 in mailing costs. You might have a $20 phone number that you need to use, like some Vumber number or Google Voice for that matter, for free. So you have $200 in mailing costs, and the rest is you. So therefore, very little cost. So between $200 and $2,000 a month, depending how much volume you do and how much you outsource.
What about you? Like, what are you spending in monthly overhead?
Well, when we go out and do marketing, I mean, we have full-time employees too, but our employees, they're also, I don't even want to call them employees, they're team members. Mm-hmm. They're like, we love them. They do additional things, like they, like the person running, my person that's like 100% the sales lady, the lady that sells the land, she's also managing the property managers for all our rental houses. Mm-hmm. Right, so she's kind of she pays for her own salary really by making sure that the property managers of the rental houses don't screw us.
Yeah.
Right. So, and because these guys, they always like they send you a $6,000 bill to repair a house when a handyman can do it for $2,500. Mm-hmm. So she goes out, finds the handyman, and so on.
It's like an accountant.
Well, more like a project manager.
But I mean, like where they pay for themselves.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And so having said that, when we go out on a buying spree, we might send out 10,000 letters for 2 months. Mm-hmm. With 20,000 letters, or for 3 months. So with 30,000 letters, we should be basically buying 100 properties.
Wow.
And perhaps it's a little less, perhaps a little more. Since we're going for the higher price properties right now, we might send out 15,000 letters each month to only get 20 properties in that month, right? So, so then it's 750 or 1,000 letters or so, because if you go up to like in the 40, 50 and plus kind of range, you have to send out more letters to get a deal, because obviously there's less people willing to let them go for almost nothing. But it's probably below 1,000 letters a deal to get a deal where you make $30,000 or $40,000. So. Yeah. So we send out 15,000 letters. We basically cost us about $10,000 or less than $10,000, like $8,000 to do this. We might do this for 3 months, and then we stop, because by the time we've done that, we have now so much influx that we're really busy just making offers and getting deals done. And then we turn around and we go sell them.
All right.
And then the selling, we might pay in advertising on LandWatch, and we might and so on. So then while these phone calls come in, our call center bill obviously goes higher. But then it stops again, because we're doing this buying spree, selling spree.
Right. What is your superpower?
I think my superpower is to see how you can make deals happen. Like I spend quite a bit of time talking to our students, mm-hmm. and like for example, sometimes we offer our students, when they get our course, they get a 1-hour one-on-one consultation with me. Mm-hmm. And I always tell them, don't waste it right at the beginning. Get it when you're in the middle of a deal and you don't know how to make money on that deal. Because I've had conversations that ended up people making people $25,000, $100,000, things like that on their deals, because of just a different way that they didn't see how to make that deal happen. Mm-hmm. Right? Someone was about to give up the deal. It's like, no. You need a money partner. So I put them together with somebody else that can put up the money for the deal, and they may end up making $65,000 on the deal. And so I'm really good at looking at that, I think, at creativity of finding a way to make things happen.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's the most valuable skill, I think, of all the skills. What is your favorite, best, or most interesting failure?
Favorite, most interesting failure, that's probably the first deal that we didn't do. Mm-hmm. Which before we went into the land area, we went into the houses area. We wanted to wholesale houses, and we got and here in Phoenix, there's the Garfield district, mm-hmm. and it's coming up now a little bit, because I just read that the artists are moving in, which means that 10 years from now it's going to be hip. Mm-hmm. But back then there was no artists there. That was just like, you did not go into the Garfield district after the sunset. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know. I had no about real estate. I mean, I didn't even know the terminology of it. So we found this deal. We drove around neighborhoods on this boarded up deal. We found out the guy's address. We sent him a letter. He got a deal, and we offered him $45,000 for the property. He accepted it, and then we put it on the market, and 28 people called us. And today, it's very, very clear why nobody bought it of those 28 people. It's because it was a bunch of garbage, these properties. I mean, it was Adobe built, foundation issues, roof issues. It needed to completely be, demolished, rebuilt. Yeah. Really. That's the only thing you can do on those things. And electrical was 1940s. I mean, nothing had been upgraded. But I wasn't able to see it back then because I had no knowledge.
Yeah.
And that was the nice part about switching to land. You don't really need any knowledge because, you're not even going to see it. It's a piece of dirt that you get at 10 cents on a dollar and you flip it and make money. Yeah. But we freaked out. We backed out of the deal. And while in the aftermath, it saved us a ton of money by doing that because we would have lost our shirt. It was still a failure. I mean, we still were deflated by it, and we still were like, crap, this didn't work, and there's this real estate stuff. Are we cut out for that? Is that the right thing? So, but other than that, we really haven't lost money on deals. I mean, the number of deals that we've lost on land deals, you can probably count them up on one hand, and they're mostly like little things where we didn't do our research properly. We didn't follow our own steps, right? We started believing our own press releases. We started thinking we're better than we were.
I think that happens to all of us.
Yeah.
So what message would you want to leave the guests with?
Well, the message I want to leave is perhaps to start with something that they're comfortable, that they can master by just stretching a little bit. Right? If I would have come across an apartment complex deal 16 years ago, I would have been screaming the other way, running the other way, screaming, because I didn't understand the complexities of it.
Yeah.
But as we've done that first land deal, my confidence grew up, right? And as we've done more land deals, my confidence grew more and grew more. My knowledge grew more. My capabilities grew more. My understanding grew more. And therefore, I was able to tackle more complex things easier over time. And we started buying houses, and we started buying apartment complexes, right? And it's not a big deal now anymore.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot of work, but it's not a big deal. So if somebody is out there as a frustrated house flipper, not really knowing what to do, because a lot of there's a guy, a frustrated house flipper, came to our live event last week, 2 weeks ago, and he literally had sent 15,000 mail pieces, and he hadn't gotten a house deal because there's so much competition.
Oh yeah.
He came over to us, and within 90 days he has 40 deals done, 40. Right? So that's the thing. He's like, there's a lot of, if you're frustrated, if you're hitting your head against something, look up and see what else is around, what else is out there, and then start with something that you know you can handle, where there's less complexities around, or whatever your level is. If you're already sophisticated, then go do apartment deals, do those things. But start where your comfort level is, where you can grasp it, where you can get your arms around it, do some deals, and then tackle all the complex things that you want to do.
That's awesome. I think that's a great message. So if someone wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Well, you can go to our website, landprofitgenerator.com. Or you can go, can I share the Facebook group
yes,
name?
Please do.
Again, the Facebook group is called Forever Cash. Forever Cash, and I think then we have like a Land for Pennies on there. It has like a double name right now because we're kind of tweaking the brand a little bit and changing it. So it has like a really long name. But if you look at Forever Cash or Land for Pennies or Land Profit Generator, one of the three terms, you'll find it right here on Facebook. It'll pop up. You have to apply for it. It's a closed group. Answer a couple of questions, just so you're not spamming us and things like that. But it's truly a group for our students helping each other. Yeah. And then you can see for yourself if I'm one of these gurus, or if this what I said earlier is true, that there's lots and lots of success right now happening.
Awesome. All right, guys. And so I want to offer something interesting for you guys. So if you guys are in the Phoenix market, you guys need help getting ARV or closing your deals, please reach out to me on Instagram. As a service that we want to offer to some of you guys. And if you want a copy of our script or our assignment contract, please opt in at realestatedisruptors.com. And join us back here next week. We got Ryan Harper and Daniel Chad Moore flying in from Texas. So that's Wednesday at 2. And then on Thursday afternoon at 4:30 at Dave & Buster's in Tempe, we're going to be doing a meetup. So if you guys are in the Phoenix market, I think that'd be a special treat. And food and drinks are paid for, so there's really no reason not to come. And then lastly, if you guys haven't signed up for We Live yet, We Live 2019, I'm going to be there. So if you guys are on the fence, definitely sign up for Max Maxwell's event. And if you do like the show, please share this episode right now, because a rising tide does lift all boats. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you. This was
Thank you very much.
Awesome. It was a great education.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.